Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What did you think of the benefits of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or martial arts as a whole?
So the benefits of training Jiu-Jitsu, I think obviously the obvious ones are the physical ones. You get fitter, you get healthier, you learn how to defend yourself. But I think it's the mental health side of things that certainly I see a big bonus for. Like for example, this morning I had a pretty average weekend. Didn't do much. But I was a bit lethargic when I got out of bed, and then I came here this morning. I taught a really good class. I had 3 awesome rounds, and now I feel amazing. The day's set up perfectly. I've got another 2 classes which I'm attending to tonight, and that kind of it makes your day better. It makes it easier to get out of bed.
Yeah, I think like for me personally, whether it's after jiu-jitsu, you don't feel as beaten up as say like MMA or kickboxing, but like after jiu-jitsu, it almost feels a bit like have you ever done yoga?
Yeah, like
almost feels a bit like that. Unless you've had really hard rounds, someone like yanking on your heels or whatever, like you feel this sense of calmness and easiness that the rest of your day now is going to be so fucking easy. Like unless you train in the evening, but like.
Well, I think even if you're training in the evening or the day, I think it just makes you feel better. It just makes you feel like I'm not a piece of shit. I've got up and done something. It's very easy, to say. The easy answer to everything is no. I don't want to do this. Yeah. So, but the hard answer is yes. I had to teach this class today because it was my lesson to teach. But tonight, it's very easy for me to say no. Because I've got Liam taking the classes tonight. They're fully booked. Everything's fine. I don't need to go to the gym. I've got it covered. But no would be an easy way out. If I say yes and I go, and I'll have a fantastic time, but although I've got to drive there, I drive back and do all other bits and bobs, it's going to benefit me. Not just, obviously I'm going to get better at jiu-jitsu and I'm going to enjoy some rounds, but, mentally, I'm getting my ass, I'm not taking the easy option, to getting my ass off the sofa and I'm going to go and train tonight,
Yeah, so obviously you're nearly 50 now.
44, bro.
Yeah, so like you're older than some people who train, like
a lot older.
23, right? I still feel those things, and it's a big battle at every single session, which it is for everyone. But how do you keep, like, you've recently done, was it half marathon?
Yeah, last week, yeah.
How do you keep like motivated to be so physically active all of the time?
Oh, well, that's my son.
Right. Okay.
My son's 11, he's nearly 12. As a man, it's my job to set standards for my son. I've got to make sure that, if he sees me drinking down the boozer, laying on the sofa, eating shit food, then, I'm not setting a very good standard for him, if he sees me running half marathons, completing triathlons, competing in jiu-jitsu, making it a successful business, keeping a tidy house, making sure, I'm in good shape, then it sets him a good standard. And I want my son to grow up, knowing that, as a man, we have responsibilities to make sure we take care of ourselves and take care of others as well.
Do you think you'd maybe not be doing that if you didn't have your son?
I didn't start jiu-jitsu until I was 33. Okay. So I'm 44 now. 33, either way. And so I had my son at 30. So I started because I wanted to be better. And I wanted to, I wanted to improve myself because I was living in Australia at the time, and I was spending too much time down the pub. And one of my friends said to us about, starting jiu-jitsu, and I was like, well, I've just got my boy, he ain't going to benefit from me going down the pub after work. Even though I was going over a couple of schooners down the pub after work wasn't too much bad thing. Even though he's at the time, obviously he was less than a year old, he wouldn't remember.
Yeah.
But it's still important that I set, I make the correct decisions, So rather than going down the pub, I went to the gym, and then that's how it kind of started from him. So I think if I didn't have him, but who knows where I'd be? I don't know. I don't know. I think I've always looked after myself. In my 20s, I used to go to the gym and stuff, like lifting weights. But I certainly am in the greatest condition I am now, thanks to jiu-jitsu and my son being here.
When do you think is a good age to have a kid? Because obviously I'm only 23, right? It's something that I think about a lot. It's like, this isn't about jiu-jitsu or anything. It's just an interesting question. I always think like around about 30, because I've seen people who had kids when I was fucking 18, like we just left school, a year and a half later they're having kids. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? That seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I think it's just down to the person, isn't it? I mean, if you can build I think it's important that if possible to have two parents around, you know, have the mum and dad together. My mum and dad separated at an early age. Unfortunately, mine and Samuel's mum separated, but we're still good. You know, I went to her wedding and I get on well with her husband. You know, we make sure it's an amicable relationship. So I don't think there's any correct age to have it. I think you just got to be in the right mindset.
Yeah.
Don't bring a kid into this world if you're going out and getting smashed on the weekends and you're not in a settled relationship, or if it's just a one-off fling and stuff like that. You know, I think you've got a responsibility to that human being that you're going to bring them into the world and raise them in the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, I'm not a dad. I haven't got much life experience, but I've seen people make mistakes. I've seen people do things correctly, but what seems to be correctly anyway. And if you have a kid at say 20, what have you got to give to that kid? You know,
well, you can give them love.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, that's a good way of starting. You know, as long as you love that kid and everything. I mean, I had Scooby-Doo when I was 30 when Samuel turned up. You know, no one tells you how to write the book, but I knew as soon as I saw him, I loved him, and I thought, if I love this kid as much as I can, then everything else will be fine. You know, we've had, you know, some bumpy roads on the way, but it's pretty cool now. You know, I get to see him all the time. He's with me 50% of the time. He comes train jiu-jitsu. You know, like he's good out on his bike. I taught him how to play cricket. Yeah, he loves it. You know, he's a good boy, and he's doing well at school. So, you know, much better than I did at 11 years old. Anyway.
How long did you live in Australia for?
About 8 years. So
wow.
I moved there when I was 27, and I came back when I was 35.
I thought it was like much shorter than that for some reason. I don't know why.
No, I was there 8 years, and I would have still been there. Obviously, I separated from Samuel's mum, and she wanted to move back to the UK. I had a business out there and a few other bits and bobs I needed to sort out, so I stayed there for a wee bit longer, and then, I moved back, and that's when I moved to Suffolk, and I'd never set foot in Suffolk or Stowmarket where I lived before, and started a fresh year after. In Australia, I had 2 businesses. I had We Chef Services, where I used to run my own catering company, and I had a bistro called Oliver's Bistro. Both successful, and I had to pack up and move to Suffolk and kind of start again.
Stowmarket.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, right?
Yeah. I lived in a place called Copacabana in Australia, and it's a bit different from Stowe. You know?
So you've always been involved in like business then, by the sounds of it?
Yeah, well, I've always been interested, I'm trying to make money and trying to, I don't really like having a boss, so I'd sooner work for myself. Yeah. So, although I've had many bosses, many awesome bosses, but I've always had my hand in trying to, even when I was heaps younger, I used to buy and sell motors, do a few dodgy deals here and there to make a few quid. And then obviously as I just got a little bit older, I got a little bit wiser, and I still made mistakes, still make mistakes all the time. It's just how you try and improve them. And, opening Fortitude Martial Arts Limited in 2021, well, Fortitude BJJ Suffolk in October 2021, and then turn it into a limited company 2 years later, it's a cracking achievement, to give up my full-time job as a chef now to become a full-time coach, if you like, or entrepreneur, or whatever you like, man. Gym owner. It's
just doing something that you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still got to get out of bed, still got to do stuff, still got to make sure that people are turning up at the gym, and I've got coaches, and I've got students, and I've got bloody forms signed, the mats are clean, I've got merch in stock. There's loads of stuff to sort out on a daily basis.
I heard Jimmy, you must know Jimmy Carter's, right? He was talking about how even though he doesn't have a boss and gets to live the life that he wants, he still has to work for someone. He has to work for the audience, right? Yeah. Like, you have to work for the people who pay you to come and train you in the gym. Like, if you don't want to go and teach, well, you've still got to go and teach, because otherwise you're going to have 20 or 30 really unhappy people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, even if you're working for yourself and doing what you want, you still have to do shit you don't want to do. You still have to go and train and get better, and there's going to be days where you don't want to take a class as well, right? Or multiple classes. Yeah,
I mean, there are times where I could do without it, but I always sit back that at least I don't. I had my last job, it was a great job, working as a chef, but I still had to be there Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. start, and then, you know, finish 4 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever. Like, but if I didn't go, you know, it was I'd get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, like if I really didn't want to go and teach a class, I could probably ask someone else to do it for me, you know, and you know, I suppose that's kind of the difference, you know. But I mean, it's you know, I love jiu-jitsu. I love going to the gym. I don't mind cleaning the mats. I don't mind doing my job, you know, because what it does is having the freedom that having this job's given me allows me to do stuff like train for a half marathon, train for triathlons, you know, take my son to cricket, you know, takes all kinds of stuff. So I think you know, sometimes you don't want to do stuff, but anything's better than working 45, 50 hours a week for some corporate company that pays you fuck all, and like if you quit, you're just another number, you know, you're not respected. So
yeah. So you started Fortitude, we were speaking a little bit before we started, like you started it, was it October 21? And it's now, is it October? No, it's basically October
it's
25.
4 years, 14th of October.
Right. So like, how have you managed to build something quite big and successful, especially in this area? Like you've got a decent amount of members in such a short period of time, because I've seen a lot of gyms that can't do that over the course of a longer period of time, or just crash and burn really quickly.
Yeah. So I started Fortitude BJJ Suffolk because I was asked to. So the guys that owned the gym said, we want to do jiu-jitsu down here, and I was a purple belt, and I was like, I don't know enough.
Right.
You know, I don't know enough about jiu-jitsu. I mean, I could probably, you know, do a few classes. And then my ex-partner really gave me a lot of confidence. She was an awesome partner, and she really pushed me to go for it. So, well, you know, I did. First class, we had like 4 or 5 people down, and it was fantastic. It went really, really well. And I've still got those 4 or 5 people, you know, 4 years later. And then, as we started getting bigger and bigger, I was very thankful when Liam joined us. He was a purple belt at the time as well, and I was like, fantastic. You know, rather than him, see, I think one of the key things is when Liam came to us, you know, as we was both purple belts, I could have seen that as a bit of danger. Yeah. Oh, no, fucking purple belt, what does he want? But I was like, mate, come in. You know, like give us a hand, you know, show us some stuff. And I think that's why I think we've been successful. It's because, you know, I'm never afraid to put my hand up and go, not too sure about that, you know. Or I've never had any problems with someone coming to my gym if they're higher belts than me, you know. I have loads of different coaches come and train at my place and do classes and seminars, because I don't know everything, far from it, you know. I'm a brown belt, I'm all right, you know, but there's loads and loads of people better than me out there. So, you know, I think the reason we're successful is because our door's open to anyone, and we're super friendly to the new guys that come through the door. You know, I always you know, insist, if you see a new person, go straight up to them. G'day mate, how are ya? I'm such and such. Bathrooms are down here. Change rooms are here. Do you need a gi? What belt are you? Do you know what I mean? Because it's so hard to walk into a gym, especially any kind of martial art gym, for the first time. And if you walk in there and everyone side eyes you and goes, oh fuck, another new guy. I mean, you don't want to go in there. You don't, you know, you're already apprehensive, and now you feel even worse. But if someone comes up to you and goes, hi, how are you, man? I see you just started jiu-jitsu, fantastic, man. Come down here, this is such and such. You're immediately at ease, like, cool, these guys are not douchebags. And then it makes it a bit easier. And that's what I've installed in all the members, that if you do one thing, just make sure you look after the other person. Yeah. And that's how we build up, you know. I think, you know, obviously I've had, you know, help from Liam. I've had help from all my other coaches. You know, I've helped from the gym owners. You know, but long and short of it is I've worked fucking hard as well. I've worked very hard to get where I am.
Yeah, so taking it back to that point of what you were talking about, like Liam, he was a purple belt, you was a purple belt. And I think that when I first joined, that was one of the things that I noticed, was it wasn't the Gary show. You know what I mean? Like, you go to some gyms and it is whoever is the head coach or whatever, it's their show. Yeah. Whereas as I've travelled around a lot of different gyms, and particularly some really, really big gyms, like big competitive gyms, it isn't a case of that's the one guy. It's a case of, yes, he's like the head of the gym or whatever, but then there's this guy, there's this guy, there's this guy, there's this guy. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things which is ego, right? That's what stops a lot of people being successful and getting further. But it sounds like that's something that you just don't really have.
Well, no, it's like, a lot of places I've been to, it's like where it's my way or the highway. Like, we're doing it like this. And you know what? Some places I trained, some of the guys are absolutely legit as, they're awesome. And that's kind of fair enough. I just don't run it like that. I just don't, everyone's entitled to an opinion. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna have, white belts running classes, far from it. But it's like, I respect anyone that comes down to it. If you're a purple belt or you're a brown belt, well, you've got that for a reason. So I'd be stupid not to listen to you. You know what I mean? You might know something I don't know, and if you do, then I want to listen to it. And if you don't, then no worries. We'll just carry on rolling anyway. And that's how I think we've built up the success that we had. We've got a lot of we've lost guys. Christ, we've lost guys. And I'm always disappointed when I lose a member. But I'll never try and. There's never any hardship. I always wish them well wherever they go and train. No good on you. You're always welcome back. But it's onwards and upwards, isn't it? Like, don't want to train me anymore. Fine, no problems. It's sad to see you go. Best of luck. You know where we are. And so there's never any. Oh mate, you can't train here. You can't train here. You can't do this. You can't do it. Do what you want. It's not. You pay me. You pay me, my company, to come here, right? So you're giving me money. So how is it? I've got no right to tell you where you can go and train. If you want to go and train with me and in 4 other gyms, well, no problem, mate. No, whatever you want to do. It's your journey, it's not my journey. It's a bit different if you don't pay. If you're just turning up and, I'll pay you next week, can I do this, can I do that? That's different. But yeah, it's your journey. You behave as you want to behave.
Yeah, and also like as a coach, one of the things that I find baffling is that if you look at a coach at a gym, say they don't like you training at other places, but then if you scroll back a few years through their journey, how many places did they train at throughout their journey?
Yeah.
I guarantee you it's not just one.
Yeah.
Like if you want to get better, you have to go around to different gyms and you have to learn off of different people to figure out what works and also what doesn't work as well. Because sometimes you might go somewhere and they're teaching.
Well, it's just different training partners as well, isn't it? You want to roll with people you haven't rolled with before. Because everyone gets used to how you roll, I'm going to a gym next Saturday in Stevenage. It's an open mat. A new movement, I think it's called. They sound pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to head down there and hopefully get some good rounds in. For me, when I go down and make sure obviously I'll pay what I need to pay and try and be super respectful. Enjoy myself some rounds, grab a photo at the end, and be on my way. Try and a bit of networking. I think it's really important that we try. And there's a lot of animosity in jiu-jitsu, like you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't wear this, can't wear this. It drives me insane, man. People come to my gym, they're like, "Oh, you alright if I wear this rash guard?" I'm like, of course, like it's a rash guard. Just wear what you want.
Just train.
Yeah. Or they're like, "Oh, I've only got this colour." I was like, "Bro, I don't care what colour it is.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it's a rash guard, and as long as your shorts don't have pockets in, right, then you're fine. I don't care."
Safe.
Yeah, and it's like gis as well, I've been to, there's certain gyms, say big gyms that can only wear a certain gear, and if you go to that gear, and I've been trained at many of these gyms, and they're like, well, if you don't have our gear, you have to borrow ours. Well, how much is that? It's 25 quid. Or, I'm all right, I'll just go and train in the gym around the corner, Like, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. I've got my own gis, belts, rash guards, hoodies, spats, and shorts. I mean, I tell everyone, I'd love you to wear my stuff. If you don't want to, no problem.
Yeah, that thing of like you have to buy, our stuff, or it has to be a certain color, or it just seems a little bit culty.
Yeah.
And a little bit right. So if I don't wear that, I can't train.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it's stupid. I just don't get it. Just don't get it.
As long as you're respectful, and you don't bring your shoes on the mat, and you're polite to the coaches and polite to the training partners, and you're not butting in when someone's trying to teach or whatever. I don't see the problem. That's what I think a lot of the reason why they do it is because it's traditional and you have to be like doing it a certain way to keep within the sort of tradition of martial arts of disciplined and respectful. But I don't really think that's what it is. I think it is how you interact with people. I think that's the respect side of it.
Well, I get, respect. I mean, line up at the end of a gi class. I think it's important you line up in belt order. I like that, I like that. But yeah, I think jiu-jitsu over the years has changed quite a bit. I mean, like I said, I've only been doing it 10 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. So I can't imagine what it must have been like years and years ago, you know. So, yeah, respect on the mats, but, you know, I don't expect anyone to bow before they get on the mats. You know, like, yeah, don't have your shoes on. That's like kind of a basic. But yeah, like make sure your gi's clean, make sure your rash guard's clean, make sure you don't stink. Like if you stink for it, I hate that. I can't stand that. You know, then you're going to get off the mat. You know, if you've got if you're feeling unwell or whatever, then don't train. You know, yeah, like just basics, man. It's basic stuff.
Do you think jiu-jitsu should be taught, or martial arts should be taught in schools to kids?
Yeah, I think it would be an awesome idea. I've been in talks with a few private schools. You know, they have, you know, fundamentally more cash than the other schools. I think it'd be a great idea to get it on the curriculum, part of the PE curriculum. I just don't know how you go about it. I don't know if it's true or not. I think over in Japan they teach karate from a young age in schools.
I'm not sure. It wouldn't shock me, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm sure they have something in it, but I mean, I think it should be. I mean, it frustrates me when, you know, you get to year 7 of secondary school and I asked my son what he did today and he was like, well, I played rounders. I'm like, cool. You know, and rounders is all right. You know, like, yeah, it's a great little game, you know, but I'd sooner see him playing cricket, you know. You know, and then at primary school, some of the PE did. I was like, man, I don't get it. I don't get why they would put that. And you know, when we do a kids class, I have 3 kids classes. You know, we try and make it fun and enjoyable. That's the main thing, to keep them interested. And we teach them to spar in the end, because getting children to get used to close contact with one another, and you know, if someone gets hold of you, then you know what to do. Is really, really important. So yes, I definitely think it would be a good idea if we saw more martial arts being taught at school, even from an outside, even if they just came in once a month or something, to do it, you know, as an outside contractor, which is something I'm looking at.
Yeah.
If I can speak to the school, see if they've got the budget for it, maybe I could come down my mats once a month and teach some kids to do some jiu-jitsu. That'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think I would have benefited from, because I was a bit of a loser kid, right? I didn't start until I was 17. I wanted to start sooner, but my mum wouldn't take me. So I was going to go to a kickboxing place, and I got a taxi one time out of defiance. I was like, oh, I'll get a taxi if you won't take me. And then I realised how expensive taxis were. I won't be doing that again.
Yeah. It's also a week's pocket money. Huh?
Yeah, literally. But I think I would have definitely benefited from it so much from just a really young age. And you see some little kids, we've got a few here, and they're just so confident, and they're good as well.
Yeah.
You know, and it gives them this self-belief, which if I'd have had the benefits of what I feel like post-training session now, at that age, it would have been like a fucking cheat code.
Yeah.
Being more successful.
Being awesome.
Yeah. And some of the stuff you see taught in school, it's why are you teaching that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame why they're teaching something. But you're saying about kids, you look at Sophie, she competed again this weekend. You know, she won one match, lost another one. But man, where she was when she first started was where she is now. It was 9 days. She loves it. Wants to compete every single weekend.
And she started was it February or something?
Yeah, and she's done more competitions than most of the adults.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Good.
So last thing I want to talk about then was you being a chef. How long was you a chef for?
25 years.
Fucking hell. Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was. I started as a pot wash at the airfield in Hatfield, scrubbing dishes at 15 years old and 10 months. I think I just got my national insurance number through. And then I went to catering college for 2 years at Ware in North Harts. I then went to work for a company called Premier People on the agency for a wee while, and then I did a few hotels and restaurants. I was never a superstar, you know, I was never, the Gordon Ramsay type, or I did work at some very nice places. I was lucky enough when I moved to Australia to get sponsored as a chef out there, so that was cool. So that's how I managed to stay there for so long. But yeah, I mean, I think with food, I love food and I love cooking. Even at home now, I do a lot of meal prep. You can work out how to make money out of food, right. So it's you can see how much it costs per plate, and that's how I can, When I had Oliver's Bistro, we opened the first night. God, Christ, and it was so busy. It was in Copacabana, on the Central Coast in Australia, and I was expecting maybe 100 people through the door, and the doors opened, and there was I've never seen so many people come through in my life.
Really?
Yeah, and I had 2 fryers, and I had on my grill, and we always, the idea of it was we could do anything for under $20, so like a tenner. Yeah. So you get your burgers, your parmesanas, we had Caesar salads, we had fish and chips, stuff like that. Just basically good, good quality pub grub next to the sea in Copacabana. And I knew how much I could get the food for because I had good suppliers, and I knew how much my wages would cost. I knew how much I was paying for overhead. So I thought, I'd make a few quid out of this. And but what I didn't expect was so many people to come through the door. So the first night was an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. People were waiting far, far too long, and I ended up refunding most of the money.
Oh no.
However, they were very, very understanding, and like, right. So the following week, I knew what to expect. So from there, it was a breeze. We had average. We used to open Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and it was about 150 a night, 150 people a night. And I made some good coin. I made some good cash out of it.
Yeah.
It was good. It was really, really good. And it goes. That's that's kind of gets. I always wanted to stay in business. I always wanted to. Be my own boss. Because once you start being your own boss, it's very difficult to go back to working for someone else. Especially when you see them. I wouldn't do it like that. But you have to because that's the way it's done, And then from there, when I opened up We Chef Services, that was pretty cool. So I was working for a guy, I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but anyway, I was getting flogged. I was doing like 78 hours a week for like next to no money. And I said, I fucking had enough of this. So I quit. And I had Samuel at the time as well. So Samuel was still young, very young. So I quit. And I went out on my own, so I just I started being self-employed. It's a huge gamble, huge gamble.
Yeah, that's fucking scary.
So, but I knew I had customers. And I think I knew I had at least 5 customers. That's all I needed, was 5 restaurants that needed me constantly. And I would dock myself around them. So I'll be at restaurant A, Monday, Tuesday, restaurant B, Wednesday, Thursday. And on top of that, then I did cooking at home. So I did, a couple of 40th birthday parties, 50th birthday parties, where I was a personal chef. I went around their house. Right. I then did parties. And then once your name starts getting bigger and bigger, well, not bigger, but like more renowned, then word of mouth goes really, really far. So that was awesome. And then I started getting people working for me. So what I would then do is, like, if I couldn't go to restaurant A, I'd send my mate to restaurant A and I'd pay him. And then I'd charge the restaurant X amount, and I'll take it, the cream off the top. So
it sounds like you've always had that knack for just making money.
Yeah, I'm knack of spending it as well.
Yeah. It's a good driving force.
Yeah.
But I see some people who are just so stuck in that I do an hourly paid job, and that's the only way I can make money. And they literally, it's like there's a wall that they can't see past, that there's another way of making money.
Yeah.
How, have you always sort of been able to see past that sort of proverbial wall, or Well,
I've always tried to have a side hustle.
Right.
So whether it be, when I first started catering, I was buying and selling motors on the side, and then when I got to Australia, the side hustle was a restaurant, because I was working as self-employed. And then I opened a restaurant, because the restaurant was Friday, Saturday, Sundays. It was like a pop-up restaurant.
Okay, yeah.
So then I would work Monday to Thursday, but while I was working Monday to Thursday as self-employed, granted, but for these other people, I would be organising what's going on at the weekend, for the restaurant. And then when I moved back here, and I was working full-time as a chef, the side hustle was jiu-jitsu, so that's how it started. And I was like, right, and then as the jiu-jitsu's got bigger and bigger, which it has, and I'll go full-time that. So now my full-time gig is jiu-jitsu. So, my next side hustle is on its way. It's top secret at the moment, but, I've got another few things planned. Ideally, I would like to get a 3rd gym open. That's my next goal. Well, my next goal is buying my house. My house is not should be in the next 4 to 6 weeks. But then once I'm in there, you look to open the 3rd gym. And then, I've got another plan for a side hustle thing. I think you've got to try and make money, not just straight. But I mean, there are loads of people out there, you know, that live their life Monday to Friday, you know, 40, 50 hours a week, take home 30 grand a year, 40 grand a year, whatever it is, you know, they go on a 2-week holiday to Spain, all inclusive, you know, they've got a wife and 2 kids and they're happy and good on them, you know, absolutely good on it. If you're happy, no worries.
Yeah, and there absolutely is that, but there's also such a huge proportion of people that claim to be that are silently miserable.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why it's important to be able to look at a different perspective, because I can see it clear as fucking day where they are actually genuinely miserable, but they're just not admitting it to themselves and the other people around them, because it's fucking scary to admit that.
Yeah, I think happiness is a huge thing. You've got to be happy. I mean, my upbringing, you know, wasn't the greatest. Something I still struggle with probably on a day-to-day basis. You know, I'm still scarred from that. And it makes me work harder, you know. But then again, you know, you always have that devil on your shoulder, you know. It's been, you know, in my 20s now, I used to party heaps, and you know, get up to all kinds of stuff. You know, I certainly weren't doing jiu-jitsu, I know that, you know. And that devil's still there, you know. But it's how you keep it under wraps, you know, how you make the correct decisions, how you know, focus on it. It's so important to, you know. Today could have gone a different way, you know. If I hadn't said, like, yes to this podcast, but, you know, like, and got up and taught this class today, my day could have gone a whole lot different, you know. And I think it's really, really important you try and take positive actions. Like running that Ipswich half marathon, right? I didn't need to run it. I know I can run, you know, but I wanted to because that's a good thing to do, you know. I set goals at the beginning of the year. Run the triathlon, I've done that. Run the half marathon, I've done that. Compete in jiu-jitsu, I did. I lost, unfortunately, but I still had a crack. Purchased my house, which is nearly there, and take my boy on a little camping trip, which is something I'm going to do after. It's going to be bloody cold, mind you, but after
It's on the list, we've got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and like they're not massive, but they're achievable. I want to say the house is a massive thing, but you know, it's something I set I'm going to do. So at the beginning of 2026, I'll set myself another 5 goals. You know, I know the goals are to be achieved. You know, you have to set yourself goals.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there anything that you want to promote, or obviously Fortitude?
Like we're Fortitude BJJ Suffolk. We have 2 academies. We run classes 7 days a week. We've got several coaches. We do gi jiu-jitsu, no gi jiu-jitsu, MMA, kids classes, ladies classes. First 7 days are absolutely free. We can lend you gis, we can lend you equipment until you're getting started. Come down and give us a try. Awesome. Gary, thank you. Cheers, bro. Thanks for having us, Brad. Much appreciated, man.
No worries.